Hi, I'm Paul Friedman, founder of the Marriage Foundation, and if you have subscribed to this channel, you know that our approach to marriage at the Marriage Foundation is very different from mainstream. For one thing, our approach actually works, where it's common knowledge almost that if you're going to go to marriage counseling, it's just on the way to divorce court. So in this particular video, this is the top 10 romantic things to do for your wife. I'm not going to get into the cutesy stuff that is irrelevant, like buy her flowers and take her on a trip. All that stuff doesn't matter if your marriage isn't working. So the things that I'm going to talk about in this still are very important romantically, but they're foundational, they're fundamental. So I broke it down into 5 and 5. There are 5 things you shouldn't do, because if you do, they'll get in the way, they'll eclipse the things that you should do. So let's start with what you shouldn't do. And I wanted to begin with the most important. And I'm going to explain why it's the most important, and I'm going to give you examples. The most important thing to not do is to express anger to your wife. And I mean any anger, in any way, in any shape, in any form, including anger towards another person. Here's why. We are, and you probably know this already, we're human beings. That means that we're souls. And this is not a religious thing, but we're souls, and we have a body, and we have a mind. Now, the body, as you know for sure from school, is comprised of individual cells. Every single living cell is embedded with the drive to survive. We define life by the drive to survive, don't we? We know that. And so this drive to survive, as part of the body, it's all intelligent. Every cell of our body is intelligent. Isn't this cool? Every cell has an intelligence. Can't think, but when they get all together, they still can't think, but they operate in unison, and they impact your psychology. You have a mind, you have a body. Your body is telling your mind what? Survive, survive, survive. Now, anger is truly a powerful force when used correctly. It is a great defensive and offensive force that we use, men especially use, as part of our survival routine. Now, women also get angry, but this is where it gets kind of cool. In their subconscious mind, a woman who is the nurturer, she bears children, and she's responsible to care for them. She finds a husband to be the protector. And the number one arrow in our quiver is anger. Now, she doesn't want that arrow aimed at her. Imagine if you hired a bodyguard, and your bodyguard is Mr. Cool. One day you guys are talking, you become friendly, and he says to you, he's packing, and he takes out a gun. He says, I could just blow your head off right now. Wouldn't even bat an eye. That guy's fired, right? You're going to fire him. Because now, who was supposed to defend you has become a potential threat to you. Your wife hired you to become her husband to protect her, and now you're displaying your anger, in many cases, towards her For example, if you give her a dirty look, if you snarl, if you roll your eyes, if you tense up, if you raise your voice, even if you whisper with that deep, menacing voice. You know, we have 1,001 ways to show our anger. There's guys who go, all of those ways, shouting, even shouting about someone you're mad at, it scares her. It scares her on some very deep subconscious level. It frightens her. And here you're turning it over upside down on her. You're supposed to defend her, protect her, and now she's afraid of you. How romantic is that, right? There's literally guys, because I met with lots of them. I've been doing this for over 20 years. There are guys who think that by expressing anger towards their wife will be impressed with their machismo and think better of them. The opposite is true. Okay, number one, don't express anger in any way, shape, or form. That's number one. It is important, really important. Now, there may be where your wife acts like it's no big deal, but those are her defenses coming up. It is a big deal. Number two, this is going to be difficult. We've grown up in a society where pointing out each other's flaws is common practice. We even have this term, which is a ridiculous term, called constructive criticism. Nonsense. Number two is don't call attention to any of her flaws any way. Not subtly, not directly, not off to the side, not by comparing her. Just don't do it. Don't do it. It's not as bad as expressing anger, but what happens if someone calls you on one of your flaws? You're not happy with them. You want to have a romantic evening with your wife? You can't be doing this stuff. If you want that, it won't work. It's the opposite. You know, you can't walk in two directions at once. Being romantic with your wife, the highest romance is love. Well, expressing love does not include pointing out her flaws. Number three, this is going to be a surprise. Don't criticize her parents, her siblings, or her children. The reason I mention her children is because in today's day and age, many are marrying for the second, even the third time. There's blended families. There's children who aren't living with you anymore, and they're totally lame. But we're talking about a woman who has carried around another human being for 9 months. 9 months of bonding, even though they never met each other out here. They've been bonding, connecting, really loving one another, no matter what their flaws, no matter what. And now you're going to criticize her children. She may or may not agree with some of your objective comments, but it doesn't matter. She's still going to defend her children. And she may be afraid to out loud, but it's there. It's powerful. It's probably more powerful than the love connection between the two of you. It shouldn't be, but it is, because the physiology, which impacts the psychology, is undeniable. So it's a huge mistake to criticize her children, whether they're yours or not, too. You don't get the freedom to criticize her children. Remember, in her mind, subconsciously, they are her children, not really yours at all. Although I know the trend is, oh, be a good dad, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, the kids belong to their mothers. It's true, especially the girls. Now, I mentioned the children first for the reasons I mentioned, but what about the siblings? Why can't you criticize her siblings? Well, if she's 10 years apart from a sibling, there's probably not much of a connection. But if there's any kind of friendship between her and one of her siblings, it's going to be a very strong bond because they've gone through a lot together, more than you and her. And you don't want to step on any ice that may be thin. Why would you? When, you only are in charge of your actions. There's only 3 kinds of actions, aren't there? There's thought, there's speech, and then there's the physical actions. You only have 3 kinds. Of those 3, they could either be, based on your decision, you have free will, they could either be beneficial insofar as they're contributing to happiness in your marriage, which is why you got married, or undermining happiness in your marriage. Well, you don't get to act like 1,000,000,000,000 times a day, especially outwardly. So you should be very conscious of anything that flows past your lips. It should always be intended to bring happiness and love to your wife. So criticizing her siblings, it's not going to happen. Her parents, her father, she'll be defensive. Her father's not that big a deal to her in most cases, but her mother, very big deal. Women tend to stick together anyway, much more than men. We don't even come close. But a mother and daughter is very tight, even if they're not getting along. Women used to come to me and say, my daughter won't speak to me. And I would tell them, look, I don't care if it's 2 or 3 years already. If you don't kind of trigger her or make things worse, she'll end up coming back to you. It's just the way it is. And I never had a case where that didn't happen. Fathers, totally different story. So do not mess with her mother. Do not criticize her or anything like that. And we go into the next one, and I'm going to start with the mother, is don't praise any other woman, not even an actress, not even her mother, nobody. Because innately, women are jealous because you are her possession. It's a subconscious thing. In some women it's conscious, but it's mostly subconscious. You're her possession. She won you. You have to understand, this is how she sees it. You think you won her, but she won you, and it's a much more powerful drive than we have. And I'm not going to spend time in this video to get into that, but that's the truth. And so anytime you praise a woman, automatically in her mind, there is now a comparison between her and the woman you just praised. And it's going to undermine her confidence in your love and appreciation for her. So even her mother, be careful. Now, if her mother passed away or is much older, then you can in certain ways, as long as she's also praising her for the same thing. But never praise like an actress or a model or a public figure even. Especially don't praise any of her friends. Oh my God. Definitely don't be looking at other women. You got to be very loyal to your wife. Loyalty is the highest law in marriage. Okay, number 5. You're going to laugh. See, I just laughed. Don't rush her when she's getting ready. I know. Trust me, I know. I don't know any men who don't know. Even the women who say, I'm not like that. I'm really quick. I da-da-da-da-da-da, and I'm ready. The da-da-da-da-da always takes much longer than a man thinks it should take. Look, it doesn't take me any time at all to comb my hair. I don't have to put any beauty products in my hair. I don't exfoliate my skin. I don't pluck my eyebrows. I don't put stuff on my eyelashes. Do you? I don't put lipstick on my lips. Do you? This stuff takes time. They're doing a painting just for their face. That's not even counting the lotions, the special this, the special that, making sure the clothes are fitting perfectly, making sure that they didn't gain any weight. All of these things take time. This is who you married. You married a woman. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Don't walk around nervous. If you're gonna miss a plane, miss the plane. It's okay. Don't rush her. Because remember, this is about romantic things to do. You don't want to undermine the path of, this is called, what is it called? Pre-sex? When you're getting each other in the mood. You don't want to take it the other way. You want to make sure that her mood is growing with love and desire for you. You don't want to pop a balloon that's not fully inflated. Whoa, I like that. Okay, now we're going to get into the 5 things to do. And again, they're not going to be cutesy, stupid things. They're real. So, number 1, which is number 6, remind her she's beautiful. You know she's beautiful. She's so beautiful. But remind her. She's a woman. She comes to the table with a certain package. You came to the table with a certain package. Part of a woman's package, which is different from a man. Men do not have to be particularly good looking. But your wife is. And so you have to let her know all the time. All the time. If she puts on a few extra pounds, you tell her how good she looks, and you say, it's barely anything, but I love how, your fingers have filled. I don't know. You have to deal with this. This is an art, and this is an art for you to learn. But you want to let her know how beautiful she is. It's very important for her. Number 7, remind her how much you appreciate her. Every human being is different. Every human being has positive attributes and negative attributes. But only a fool would concentrate on the negative attributes in their partner. So as you're concentrating on the positive attributes, let her know what they are. Let her know how much you appreciate those. It doesn't matter whether it's psychological, emotional, physiological, intellectual. It makes no difference. Let her know how much you appreciate her. We have free will. You can appreciate anything you want. And then you can nurture that appreciation according to your own design. And guess what? Appreciation is one of those acts of love. Like gratitude is an act of love. Compliments, these are acts of love. Number 8, remind her how much you love her. It used to be where men would actually go, she knows how much I love her. Does that stuff even fly anymore? Does it fly for you? It's important to remind her how much you love her. And here's what's more important. It can't be mechanical. Don't forget, women are super intuitive. They make us look like turtles in a race by the hair, with the hair being intuition and the tortoise being us. So she's going to see through you. Take advantage of her seeing through you by making all of your expressions of love deep and sincere. Take your time. Take a breath. Remind yourself of how amazing she is, how beautiful she is, how much you love her, and then say, I love you. Many people, like when they're getting off the phone, they mechanically say, honey, I love you, talk to you later. Even then, stop, feel it in your heart, and then go, I love you. It makes a difference. All right. Number 9 is, I think this is interesting. Praise her tastes. We all have our own tastes, right? I mean, I have a taste in cars that goes way back to when I was a kid. I really loved my first car, which was a Corvair. I love my second, third, fourth. In those days, we were able to buy cars for $300. Hardly any tread on the tires, but they were cool. I had a ragtop, a 61 ragtop Chevy Impala with a Hirsch shifter. That was my taste in things. She has her tastes. You don't want your taste to be criticized, so think of it as an equation. I don't like my taste to be criticized. I like my taste to be appreciated. Same with her. So for this, you have to pay more attention than you probably are, and then let her know you know. For most women, it's sort of like a given. Their husband barely remembers the anniversary, birthdays, things that are important to her. So make them important to you so that she knows that you care. Number 10. So I'm going to say this and you're going to misinterpret it. So it's discover what turns her on, and most men in our society are thinking sexually. Well, look, here's the truth about sexual. For a woman, sexuality is not a spur of the moment. It's a buildup of passion that comes through her husband nurturing her. She wants to be close to you. She doesn't want to get by you. Well, maybe occasionally, but that's a whole different world. She wants to be treated in a way like the little prince treated his rose, with total devotion, sincere appreciation, and love. And when you understand your wife, which is your job to understand her, you can be feeding love bites to her throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, and never undermine your efforts with the first 5, and just build and build and build and build. You will have more sex than you've ever had in your life. But it won't be just sex. When you understand love, which we're not taught, then you understand that sex is an expression of love. Is it a physiological, quote-unquote, need for a man to have sex? Yes and no. It's in the mind. Don't forget that drive to survive is guiding most of our thinking. And so subordinate to the drive to survive of fight or fly is procreation. It's right there. It's number 2. Because we have to have a group. It provides protection for us. Which means that we have this subconscious mental drive to make women pregnant. It's there. And it's our job to redirect that energy. Think of it only as in terms of energy. We want to redirect that energy so that we could experience what marriage is all about, which is love. Love is not a greater intensity of like. It's its own entity. And you have experienced it. You've looked at your kids when they were asleep and your heart just opens up. That's real love. You have felt moments with your wife when your heart just opens up, and that's love. And the mind can't even wrap around it. I talk about these things in my books. The Course for Men, if you're having a troubled marriage, will help you. Just watching these videos will help you. So that's all 10. Now, like I told you in the beginning, it's not your typical romantic stuff, because I discovered, so I used to be a divorce mediator over 20 years ago, before I started helping couples with their marriages and individuals. Actually, helping an individual is a much better way to help a marriage. And I can truly say that we've reinvented the wheel here with marriage. We have an understanding of what marriage really is. It's an individual path that two of you do together. But its goals, the promises of marriage, are happiness, ever-increasing happiness, and ever-expanding love. Where do you hear this stuff? It's crazy. So hopefully you will subscribe so you hear more of these videos. You'll start getting addicted to this reality of marriage and how you can have that. Because most people don't, and you can. It's not just pie in the sky. It's real. Marital bliss is a real thing. You just have to know how to do it. So hopefully we got you, and you'll want to watch more videos, and you'll want to like this, leave a comment. I'm Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. Go to our website, learn more about us, what we do. And thank you, and God bless you. Take care.